Hi.
Made it.
Made it. How are you guys doing so far?
Hi, guys.
Hey. How are you feeling about everything so far?
Yeah, the days move. Oh, I love the background.
Can you hear me?
Nice.
Right along though. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, Maddie, too. Maybe you can't hear us.
One way to do it. So we are going to record this. We already asked. We talked about that, right?
Yep. Yeah. I see we're already recording. Do you want to start it? Just keep it going.
We're going.
Okay. All right.
So, Maddie, can you hear us? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Okay. I didn't have audio at first, so I had to join back in, connect to audio.
No worries. We're glad you can hear us.
Yes. So I saw that you sent over some slides. Let's just make sure that you can share your screen.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. Looks like I should be good to go.
Yeah, the day's going pretty good. We just had that amazing announcement.
Amazing.
I know, I saw that.
Did you see the announcement in the app or the email?
Yeah.
I got email.
Okay. I was trying to be really careful, but like.
I thought it was good.
Okay, thank you. I was really nervous to hit send on
that. I saw it on my Apple News app first. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I saw the email 10 minutes later. So it was good.
Well, it felt a little like it would be a missed opportunity, as some would say, if we didn't comment on it.
Yeah, I have a screenshot I'm building in also. I just think that's so important that was so cool to be here and with all these women when that announcement came out. I mean, that's just so awesome.
It's amazing that that's going to be everybody's experience, that when they were at the Women in Business Conference for Holy Cross.
I know.
So cool. All right, let's see if that works.
So, Maddie, when you announce or we do the opening, if you just want to let everybody know it's going to be recorded.
I will.
Awesome.
It's already being recorded right now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we just have to let everyone know.
Okay. Yeah, I had that in my intro. Oh, for the breakout rooms, Cassie, are you going to do those or do you want one of us? So I don't know if I have the function as a co-host.
Oh, yeah. I'm
sorry, what?
Yeah, I can do that. I was just checking. I can certainly do that.
Because I don't have the function. I'm looking right now and doesn't have breakout rooms.
That's okay. Tara, what is the ideal number of people in a room?
I think it first depends on who shows up, but I'd like to keep it around 5.
Okay.
So I think some more folks signed up in the meantime. I'm still not seeing everybody on the app, but if we're around 30, then maybe 6 groups.
Okay, yeah. So the last couple sessions I've been in, well, when I was in this morning, had 45 or so in it. Were you there with Kelly Meerbot?
Yes. Yeah.
So there was 45. So, I would imagine we might see a trailing off throughout the day.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Beautiful weather outside.
I know, it's so nice out. I've got 2 windows right in front of me.
Nice. But yeah, I'll do the breakout rooms whenever you're looking for that. And then we're also doing the polling. Let's see if I can I launch a poll? Okay, so I can launch poll. I won't do it just in case you can only do it once.
Okay. And we have 2 polls, right? The one for what industry you're interested in networking in, and then later on, did you look up me on LinkedIn or other participants on LinkedIn? Okay.
Yeah, both there. Perfect.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just want to see.
Do you have 2 screens?
today I don't, unfortunately. But that's okay. No worries. I'm gonna save. One and hold it up. Cool. Awesome. So do we have a waiting room on right now, or are people just going to come in as they show up? Oh, it looks like folks are starting to get here, actually.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So it is 12:52, so we have plenty of time.
Mhm.
Perfect.
So yeah, feel free to like welcome them as they're coming in. I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
Sounds good. Maddie, did you get to attend one of the morning breakouts also?
I just went to the keynote, and then I have like breakfast and stuff, but I'm hoping to attend the executive alumni panel after, which
Nice.
I'm excited for. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's been going well. I'm excited.
Good. I'm glad.
And a few of my friends have been texting me, like my classmates, they're like, "Oh my gosh," like, because a lot of them were like, "Oh, I don't know how it's gonna be online. Like, I don't want to sit on Zoom on a Saturday." But they're
I
actually like,
know.
really enjoying it. They told me, so I was like, "Oh, I'm so happy."
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, the keynote was awesome. Stephanie was fantastic. I really enjoyed her. It was a nice way to start it all off, I think, and get people really kind of linked up and looped into the whole conference.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, welcome. I don't know if you're on yet or if you just signed in and are coming back in a few minutes, but welcome if you're there. Awesome. Great. Maddie, can you see my chat box on the screen right now, or?
I just have the main one pulled up. I can
Okay.
I have private. I can chat you privately. I can try.
No, that's okay. I have the chat box pulled up. I just wanted to see if it was showing on your end, or if you were still just seeing the slide. So if you're just seeing the slide, that's perfect.
Yeah, I can pull it up. Every time I get a chat, like I get a little notification. So,
Perfect.
but I'm seeing the slides right now.
Great. Awesome. All right. We've got like 5 or so minutes left before folks start trickling in, I think.
I'll give it like a minute, maybe like a little after 1. I'll start with the intro, just so in case anyone's just joining like last minute.
Perfect. Sounds good. And I'm just going to reshare in a sec. Just signing in, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. We're gonna wait a few more minutes for folks to hop on, and then Maddie will get us started. But in the meantime, if you want to rename yourselves on the Zoom to your name and your class year, if you haven't already done so, I'm gonna do it right now as well. It's those three little dots at the top of your video screen, and you can click rename if you'd like to do that. Thanks, Cassie.
I'll give it another minute and then we can start. All right, I think I'm gonna get started. So welcome everyone. Thank you to all the students and alumni who showed up to our panel today. My name is Maddie Ingram. I am a sophomore economics major and a member of the Women in Business Committee at Holy Cross. I'm really excited to be here today because not only does it make me feel connected to Holy Cross, but it also provides me with an opportunity to meet new people and learn and network with all of you. Just as a quick reminder to all those attending, this panel will be recorded and available to view after the conference on the Whova app. We have exciting topics to cover in this afternoon's panel about networking and stewardship success, and I'm very happy to be able to introduce our speaker, Tara Greeley. Tara is the director at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in Boston, Massachusetts. Tara graduated from Holy Cross in 2012 with a major in biology on the pre-med track and also earned a minor in deaf studies. She's a personal passion for networking and has found that is essential for professional growth and career development.
Thanks so much, Maddie, Cassie, and the rest of the committee for giving me the opportunity to chat with everyone today. I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to chat with you about networking and stewardship today and touch on some mentorship as well. If you have questions that come up throughout, feel free to enter them in the chat. Or we might have the opportunity to take you off mute and have a brief discussion, but there will be some time for questions at the end as well, and a breakout session too. So I'm looking forward to having this time with everyone. I know it's gorgeous outside and you could certainly not be on your screens right now, so very grateful and appreciative for everyone that made the time to be here. I wanted to start off, I made a last minute change to this presentation because I think it just cannot go without celebrating, regardless of your political views. This is a huge moment in history for women. The first woman and first Black and South Asian person elected vice president in US history. I could not put this in. So I'm just really excited to be here at this virtual conference with all these amazing women, all these amazing Holy Cross alumni, as well as celebrate this moment. So very, very exciting stuff, and I just wanted to put that out there before we dive in today. So just a quick review of the agenda. We're going to do a quick icebreaker industry poll to start and get everybody engaged. I really encourage you to chat your questions and comments throughout the presentation as they come up. And then we'll dive into some networking. I've got a lot of great experiences to share with you and tips and tricks that I think will be helpful kind of across spanning the gamut of both students and alumni. So I hope that a lot of this resonates with you. We'll touch on some stewardship and mentoring, like I mentioned, and then be able to do some breakouts, which I think will be really fun. That was one of my favorite pieces of the Women in Business Conference in person in the past. So I wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to do that today as well. So to start, we're going to launch a poll, and you should see it on your screen in just a minute here, but I'm really curious to see, of this group, what industry are you looking to network within? I think we've got a lot of representation across the board here, so please take a minute to answer the poll, and when you're ready, do that and hit submit. And we'll give everyone a few minutes to do that. I'm going to do it myself. You'll see a few pictured here. I hope you also consider networking outside of these industries, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But once we have, Cassie, how are we looking on the poll? So if you take a minute to fill that out, that would be awesome. I know we've got some folks here in the nonprofit space like myself, some of the other industries represented as well. Perfect, put it in the chat if the poll isn't working for you or you missed it. Thank you so much. Real estate, we've got. Perfect, legal, awesome. Thanks, Heather. Great. Well, even with just those couple to start us off, obviously networking is industry-wide. I mean, we really need to be making connections within our industries and outside of our industries as we develop in our careers and in our professional lives, but in our personal lives as well. So thank you to the few who took a minute to do that, just to give an idea of kind of where we sit in terms of industry. So thanks so much for that. So we're gonna do, thanks Emily, a nonprofit, shout out, love it. We're gonna do another poll later on, so I hope you guys stay with me here and then do the breakouts as well. So just wanna make this as engaging as possible. Big fan of memes over here, so you'll see those throughout the presentation, but let's get started with some networking. So I'd love to just start by talking through some tips, tricks, and please do's or actions that you can take. First and foremost, when you're thinking about networking, when you're going to a networking event, when you can treat any event or organization as a networking opportunity, know your intent. Know what your goals are going into that room or into that virtual platform, right? The world we're in today. So are you going to this networking event because you're looking for a new job? You're looking for a mentor to help grow and professionally develop. You're looking just to network with peers, or you're looking to change industries. That can be kind of a small fish, big pond kind of experience. So be ready and know your goals as you go into that space. And then after you've got that guidance, let yourself have some wiggle room, right? So be open beyond your goals. Some of the most skill building conversations I've had in networking and my own experiences have been because I've been open beyond what my original intention going into that meeting or into that event has been. I'll share a few examples kind of throughout the presentation, but one in particular is I got really involved and served on the board for about 1.5 years with an organization called Women in Sports and Events. And my work in nonprofit is very event-based. I oversee several campaigns throughout the New England area for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and in my previous nonprofit organization experience as well. But getting involved with women in sports and events was something that brought me out of my comfort zone and really grew my skill set so that I could meet people at the playing field they were coming from in other industries. So it really just helps kind of build that experience and that skill set to connect outside of your industry, depending on what your goals are for networking. Third bullet point up here is do your homework, and that might be a really obvious one. I have always been known amongst my friends that are going on like a dating app or an online date, like, I found that person and I know their middle school teacher within like 10 minutes. I love using social media, using LinkedIn, Google searches, figure out who you're talking to before you talk to them. You want to kind of have a sense of some of the answers to your questions so that you can help steer and drive that conversation in a way that you're going to be able to gain whatever it is you're trying to gain out of that networking experience. But beyond that, do your homework. Who's going to be in the room? If you were registered for this conference ahead of time, you had the opportunity to use the app to figure out, okay, who's going to be in my breakout sessions? Who's going to be, speaking at these? Who's on the panel? Who's the keynote? Check those people out and figure out who it is you want to talk to and connect with in the space before you get there. This next piece I love. I was at a very close friend's college graduation back in the day, and we were sitting at a big dinner with our friends and our parents, and my friend's mom's one of the kindest, most thoughtful, funniest people I've ever met, and she had had a few glasses of wine, and she gave me the best advice I think I've ever gotten. She said, always, 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 never burn your bridges. So even though she stumbled over that sentiment a little bit, that was an experience that stuck with me, because you never want to burn your bridges with impact connectors. So when you're networking and when you're meeting all these people and making new contacts, keep those people in your pocket. Talk to them every so often so that it's a year-round engagement experience, and you have those touch points throughout. And then I think most importantly on this piece is just give as much as you get. I saw a few really, really wonderful sentiments lately kind of throughout the election this year, but also just in life, that when you are able to open a door, hold it open. One of the major reasons I went to Holy Cross was because on my campus tour, every single person was holding the door open for you. Like even in those awkward moments when you feel like you have to run because you're a little bit too far from the door to kind of walk and take your time. So every time you're advancing in your career, in your professional life, or your personal life, especially as women, as we take steps up on that ladder and closer to those glass ceilings, take a look behind you. Give as much as you get. When you benefit from a mentor, turn around and mentor someone else. And this, I think, is just one of the most important pieces, because a huge part of networking is also offering of yourself. So what would you want to know about yourself? What would you want to hear from you at a networking event? And be able to kind of have that prepared and in your tool belt as you go into these networking spaces. So I'll speak a little bit about networking events and organizations. And this kind of references what I was talking about before, but industry specific. I don't have this logo up here, but as a member of the development space, a nonprofit, I'm in an organization called Women in Development. They're hosting virtual development events and networking events in the virtual space once a month at the least. It's amazing how everyone has adapted in these times to still offer these opportunities. And I learn a lot from both professional mentors, peer mentors, and just kind of staying up to date on the culture and the landscape of the industry that you're in. So make sure that you're really honing in on those industry-specific networking events. But then you also have this out-of-industry piece. And that can really come in handy in a lot of different ways, right? So if I'm ever thinking about changing careers later in life, I've got kind of my hands in all these pots where I've taken the temperature and given myself a little bit of a gut check, like I've been to this women in sports event. What was my experience there? Is that a space that I would consider going back to if I do want to make a career change? And hey, now that I've had that experience, I know 5 or 6 people that I've stayed in touch with, right? Never burn your bridges. Stayed in touch with them, and I can call on them to help network with me and get me into that space. But again, it challenges your skill set. So in my position, in my role as campaign development director at LLS, I do a lot of relationship building. I work with a lot of sponsors and corporate partners, and I do a lot of volunteer development. That's kind of like my niche skill set and what I've worked on in my industry over the years. But outside of my industry, I've got this great base, this great network of people, both as mentors and just as connections, that have challenged my skill set. So that when I'm working in my own space and reaching out to others, if it's for a career change, if it's for a corporate partnership with a biotech organization or a legal firm or a bank or someone in the finance industry, I've got a little bit going on in that space in terms of my own knowledge and understanding that I can meet them on this level playing field. So networking outside of your industry can be just as fulfilling and just as good for your professional development. Be prepared. Oh, have good posture. Dress to impress, right? Like, we're super lucky right now because I'm wearing leggings and nobody would know if I didn't just tell you, right? So we're in this virtual space where you have this opportunity to balance comfort with professional presentation. And it's kind of the best of both worlds, right? You have this kind of like comfort level, you feel balanced, you feel like your feet are on solid ground a little bit more. So in this virtual space, there are a lot of silver linings. But whether you're in person or virtually meeting someone and networking, like, be ready, be prepared, strong handshakes, good eye contact. Have a notebook with you or take notes on your phone. There have been times where I've met people at networking events and I send them an email because we've got our business cards exchanged, and I send that email before I even leave the event. So immediate follow-up, right? Immediate connection. I'm ready to do that. I'm in the mental headspace to do that as well. And again, that question, why would you want to meet you? So at these events, what's your elevator speech? What's your pitch? Right? Are you going to talk about current events? Is that your icebreaker? What are you bringing to the table that would make people want to meet you just as much as you want to meet them? Your time and energy is just as important and just as much of a priority of all those that you want to meet. So let that build you up and build that confidence to walk into a room and own your introductions and own the connections that you make, right? Why would you want to meet you? Well, I know I'm friendly, I'm a thoughtful person, I'm driven, I'm motivated to make connections. And as I'm saying these things to myself, I'm like, oh, like, okay, maybe I'd want to meet me, right? So what are you bringing to that space and bringing to the table? And then be an active participant. If you're able to chat in the chat box now, I'd love to hear, how have you been an active participant in the conference today? If you can just chat in, have you introduced yourself? Have you done the icebreaker? Have you sent anyone a message or joined a group or a meetup? Take a couple of minutes to chat that in if you don't mind, and we'll see kind of who's really taken advantage of being so active in this space. Thanking the presenters, awesome. Yes, 2 minutes after Stephanie finished her keynote, I was like, I loved this part of your speech. This was my takeaway. Would love to meet with you sometime. I really loved that piece. She said, if anyone here was able to attend, that traveling is a great uniter of cultures. I loved that. Awesome. So great. And then follow up. Awesome. Thanks, Cassie. Sending messages to people you're hoping to run into. Yeah, we're in a weird world right now, right? So you can't really bump shoulders the way that you usually would. You're not going to run into folks the way that you normally would. So how are you able to connect with them outside of this? And we'll talk a little bit more about the impact of COVID as well. So being an active participant, also just wanted to flag asking questions. Would love to see some questions come in through here, but asking questions ahead of time. The Whova app was really awesome. We had the opportunity and the space and the platform to take advantage of that. So in networking, if you know there's an opportunity to ask questions ahead of time, submit those questions. That way your question is higher up in the queue and you're more likely to get your name out there when you're asking those questions in hopes to connect with that speaker or panelist. Follow-up is so important. I just shared the example of sending that email out before I even left the room for the night, following up immediately and with a custom message, right? Not just your blanket, hey, great meeting you, let's grab coffee sometime. Even with our friends, we're like, it's been forever. We can't let this much time pass. Let's do this again soon. And then a week goes by, and then a month or two goes by. And then you see them at next year's Women in Business Conference and you say the same thing, right? So customize that message and say, hey, this is what I took away from our conversation today. And this is what I'd really love to follow up with you about. When are you free? Here's my availability. I find oftentimes presenting your availability in the first outreach makes it a little bit easier and cuts down on that back and forth, right? Awesome. Great, and Maddie just shared the Crusader Connect alumni link in the chat as well. We'll talk about some more resources too as we go, but that is a fantastic one and I've used that several times. Great. So what about COVID, right? We're in this crazy world. I've been standing at my makeshift standing desk since March, like probably a lot of you. We found out we're going to be virtual for the foreseeable future, probably till next fall, who knows, right? So I would love to be in person as soon as possible, but while we're in this space, what do we do about it? How can we be proactive in our networking goals? I'm not sure who was on to start the day, but Dean Friege said that the Women in Business Conference has actually doubled in attendance since years past. I think this number grew even since the last time Maddie, Cassie, and I spoke, but about 300 alumni and 100 students, 400 alum, that's amazing. That is really, really cool. I think one of the silver linings, again, of the impact that COVID has had on this now new lifestyle we're all living is that accessibility is so heightened. I reached out to, I used to sing a cappella at Holy Cross, and I saw alert in the Whova app that someone else had joined, and it was one of my old a cappella teammates, I guess. She's tuning in from France. Like, this is so cool. It's amazing to see that people geographically, those barriers are down, with the exception of some time zone considerations, right? So very, very cool. And, you know, never fear, right? People are actually statistically more giving of their time and energy, more philanthropic in times of trauma or in times of crisis. So the level of compassion for people who have the bandwidth to share that compassion is actually so much higher now. If you think about the response to some traumatic events in our history, like 9/11, or I've done a lot of peace building and conflict resolution work. So that example just comes to mind. And the last 11 years now, there's been this amazing group of young people that are peace builders from across the world that come together. And there are more than double the attendees at today's conference. So people really want to take advantage of this time to connect. And there are so many platforms and structures that are put in place now and really kind of advanced the opportunities to still connect in that way. People are still attending events. So many people are here today. I've attended several virtual networking events and connector events over the past several months, and they're full. The rooms are packed. So what do we do now that we can't hand out our business cards, right? So you'll see at the end of this presentation, my email, my contact information is going to be up there on the last slide for you all. I encourage everyone to reach out. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, but you can send a private message in this chat, right? If there are people that are attending this event or this breakout or the panel discussions you're attending earlier or later today, send them a private message. Send them a message in the Whova app. Right? Like, that is such a cool platform to be able to utilize and take advantage of. And then again, be an active attendee. So ask those questions ahead of time or in real time as you're listening to the presentation, and connect with the panelists and speakers. I was super honored to have the opportunity to chat today with all of you, and I would love to connect with everyone either during or after this, but connect with the people that you see you've got some interest in their background, or you can check off your interests on the Whova app in your profile and connect with people that are also interested in travel or that are also interested in fitness and wellness and things like that. So take advantage of what's being put out in front of you. I love this phrase and this language, super connectors. A peer mentor of mine said she thought of me as a super connector, and I think it's like the best compliment I've ever gotten. I love being able to connect people with their goals or contacts that they'd like to see. Again, give as much as you get, right? I actually have a classmate of mine from Holy Cross who was living in Chicago and really wanted to move to Boston and was interested in a few different companies. So we had a phone call about his resume. We talked about some potential contacts I could introduce him to. One happened to be another classmate that they just didn't happen to know each other well at school. Long story short, this guy got the job, moved to Boston, met his girlfriend. Now she's his wife, and they just had a baby. And it's just really neat to be a part, even just like a stitch in that kind of interwoven connectedness, right? So if you can't find a super connector, my challenge to everyone today is to be that super connector, right? We come from this background of men and women for and with others, and that level of compassion and that level of intentional connectedness, I think, is such an important piece of both professional and personal development. Can really manifest in this super connector way. So definitely wanted to touch on that with you all today. And then go through these resources. So Maddie's already chatted one in. I think she's going to chat in a few more links, like the Women in Business LinkedIn page and so forth. So please take a look at those as those are clicked in. Share your experience on social today as well. You know, a lot of connecting these days is very kind of new age, right? Instead of shaking hands at a networking event, you're sending someone a DM because they're a friend of a friend, and that's how you got connected. So take advantage of all that the world has to offer us in that social space as well. And I wanted to focus a lot of this time on LinkedIn. You'll see on the right, I don't know who you are, but I will look you up on LinkedIn and I will find you. And if I don't, I'm going to Google you, right? So when you're networking and when you're hoping to make these contacts, really put all that effort into it. The more background that you have, the more successful, the more productive and efficient your conversations will be as you're in that networking space. So be active on LinkedIn. Comments, likes, sharing and posting your own activity, really getting yourself out there. A lot of network, just really simplified, is putting yourself out there. And this is a great space to do it because LinkedIn is like the professional Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? It's a different space. It's a space where the parameters are a little bit different, and the guidelines there are more professional. That's what the goal of that platform is. First thing I open every day on my work laptop is my email and LinkedIn, and I'm on it the rest of the day. Also, take some pride in your profile yourself on LinkedIn. Do you have an updated profile? Are you open to job opportunities? Is your photo updated? Is it a professional photo? Right? So, you know, you don't have to go to a photo shoot these days to have a really professional looking headshot. You can just use profile mode on your iPhone, and it's amazing. So take advantage of what we have and really put the extra work in, because then as soon as you connect with someone on LinkedIn, the response and the reception of that, if you've got all of your stuff together and you're projecting the most professional version of yourself, it's just going to really put a lot of ease into starting that conversation. Respect those boundaries of the professional networking. Use those in search of opportunities as well. Join these groups that you see in the LinkedIn chat or in the Zoom chat right now. The Holy Cross Alumni Group, the Crusader Connect is amazing. It's an opportunity for alumni to mark off if they're open to being introduced to other alumni who are interested in their profession or their industry. I did that one time, and I met with the gentleman. I was interested in maybe seeing if I wanted to move into education or higher education, development and advancement. And I met with this person, and he said this was the first time anyone had reached out, and he had an asterisk next to his name on Crusader Connect that he was inviting connections. So take advantage of that. It's a great thing that Holy Cross offers. Reflected in Holy Cross alumni giving, it's so amazing the amount of alumni that want to help other alum or students that are looking to advance their careers. And everyone is always so welcoming to that and receptive to that. The other piece on LinkedIn, you can give and request recommendations and endorsements. So do this with your board members, do this with your peers, do this outside of your industry. Anyone that's worked with you or anyone that you're close with and you have a good sense of their work style and skill set, again, give as much as you get, right? So propose to someone that you'd love to exchange recommendations on LinkedIn. Guaranteed they'll say yes, right? Unless they don't know you, in which case maybe you shouldn't be connected with them. Or maybe that's when you need to set up that virtual coffee and get to know them. And then the couple of pieces on LinkedIn where you can really elevate your use of that platform is if you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is a really great prospect generating and pipeline generating function of LinkedIn that you can pay into, or LinkedIn Premium as well, which helps you kind of open up your search function and also be able to send in-mail and that sort of thing. So I want to pose another poll to the group, and hopefully they are on your screen still. But I'm really curious, ahead of this event, I'd love to know who utilized LinkedIn. And I know that from the attendee list that some people already have used this, which is amazing. So who looked up the speakers and other attendees on LinkedIn prior to this session? So take a minute to fill out that poll if you don't mind. You can select either speaker, attendees, both, or neither. And that'll just give us a good sense of kind of who's taking that step ahead of time and who's maybe still learning about that piece. And Cassie, as you get a sense of those poll results coming in, if you wouldn't mind sharing them in a minute or so, that would be awesome. And as those come in, the last piece that I'll touch on as well is this warm introduction. Networking is great, but it's really difficult to walk up to a stranger and say, hi, this is why it's important for us to be connecting. But warm introductions can really take down that barrier to opening conversations. And some people say that strangers are just people you haven't met yet, right? So as you go into this space, whether it's a Zoom platform or an in-person before or after coronavirus, right? Utilize those warm introductions. Those are those super connectors for you. All right.
Tara, looks like some people looked into speakers and some people looked into both. So it's a good sign.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. That's a great sign. I'm super proud of this group. That's amazing. Very cool. And I was looking up a lot of the attendees as they were rolling in. So if you saw me creeping on you, great. I'm so glad you creeped back, and now hopefully we can connect after this as well. So we did have a question come in ahead of the session that I just wanted to touch on. What are some unique ways to network? Whether this is because of coronavirus or not, what are some unique ways to really get yourselves out there? And Whova is amazing. I've used it for another conference as well, but make sure your profile is updated, network with those common interest groups like we said, send direct messages. There's so many ways to connect. And that is a really unique way to accomplish that and accomplish that networking piece. The other that I really wanted to share a story about is eye-catching business cards. So I am pretty traditional with mine, and that's what I like, but I will never forget an experience I had at a networking event. It was again at a Women in Sports and Events networking event, and I had met this woman who was really trying to break into the sports industry. And at this event were like CMOs of the Celtics and ownership of the Red Sox and all these amazing New England sports teams and their representation in those administrative roles and those marketing roles. And this person really wanted to break into the industry. So she actually turned her business cards into those Little League cards. So I'd love to see in the chat or raise your hand or come off mute and give me a shout. If anyone here used to play like Little League soccer or softball or anything, basketball growing up, this woman had a business card for each sport. And so she dressed up in baseball attire and she had, her photo shoot. And that was her business card for anyone in Major League Baseball or anyone associated with the Red Sox. And I'd love to see if in the chat too, if anyone actually has been a participant in any of those youth sports growing up and knows what I'm talking about. I definitely had my fair share and came across a couple of really embarrassing photos of me in like the 3rd grade recently. And, you know, this woman was a really unique person, but I was blown away by this creativity, and I will never forget that person, right? So leaving a mark and really remembering and taking advantage of being creative in that space. Yes, Emily, thank you so much. Yeah, my parents, I think, saved all of my cards too, both good and bad, really bad for me. So I wanted to share that story too. But there's so much opportunity too to get virtual coffee or drinks with a new connection. I'm a fan of both. If anyone here wants to connect after the fact, big fan of virtual coffee, equally a big fan of virtual drinks. So please reach out. Love to set that up with any of you. But it's a great way to kind of have that casual meetup space, that comfortability in those conversations that we can't have in person right now. And then treat every event or outing as an opportunity to network, right? So if you're with a significant other's family party, or if you are attending an event that doesn't necessarily have to do with your industry, treat it as a networking event. Both my significant other and my brother's significant other call this thing called the Greeley goodbye. At every event I go to, takes me about 20-30 minutes to say goodbye because I've just made so many really cool or fun or interesting connections at that event, even if it's a family cookout. So treat every experience as an opportunity to network. You never know when you're going to meet someone that could be an integral part of your personal and professional life. And then lastly, email signatures. So you have an opportunity in your email signature to put exactly what you're looking for. Same on LinkedIn, you know, I'm open to opportunities. Include a call to action, right? Contact me about opportunities in marketing. Contact me about opportunities in the legal space. Include your LinkedIn hyperlinked in your email signature as well. Awesome. Oh my gosh, that's really cool, Cassie. If you didn't see in the chat, Molly Jolly, class of '88, she was a Women in Business keynote a few years ago and an executive for the Angels. She had a sports business card as well. That is so cool. I love that story. So, you know, leave a mark, right? Be creative and unique in the ways that you network and play to your own creative abilities. I'm not artsy at all. I wish I was. I can't draw like a perfect circle if my life depended on it. But if that's your space, then use some like beautiful graphic design to make your business card stand out, right? Take advantage and play to your own skill set in this way. So we'll chat a little bit about stewardship. Stewardship is really all about relationships. I'll speak from my own experience, and please translate this to your own experience and goals as you will. But for me, it's all about maintaining and building those relationships out. So what happens after the introduction, right? So you've had this great networking success, you've made this wonderful contact. What comes after that? What are you doing? What's the follow-up? What's the thank you plan? What's the next meeting or conversation? And think about those in the form of your short-term and long-term goals. So for me, if I'm networking and I meet this amazing contact and they're a gatekeeper, or a decision maker at a company that I'd like to sponsor and support the mission to cure blood cancer, right? So that's my why. Why do I want to connect with them? And my short-term goal with this gatekeeper is to have them introduce me to the decision makers at this company so I can create some opportunities to partner. And my long-term goal is to maintain and grow that partnership. So what am I going to do in the meantime to make both of those things happen? And thank yous are so, so important. Everyone loves to be thanked, especially if you're offering your own time and energy kind of outside of what's required or outside of the minimum. Thank those people. Acknowledge your appreciation for them and the introductions they're making for you or the partnerships they're creating with you. And then personal touches, I think, is probably the most important and my favorite part of getting creative with building these partnerships and stewarding these relationships. So some of my top corporate sponsors and top corporate partners, I know how they take their coffee, because when I show up to a meeting with them, I want to show them that I'm not just going to say hello once a year to ask for dollars to support our mission. I'm going to share with them the impact of those dollars. So we're going to have a coffee meeting or a virtual meeting for me to share with them what those dollars did and how they helped patients and their families. And I'm going to bring the coffee that they drink. Or I'm going to ask about the family of that gatekeeper. Say, thanks so much for this introduction. How's your daughter doing with remote learning right now? Right? Create that personal connection so it's not a transactional relationship. I think that's such an important part of stewardship that sets it apart from just transactional relationships and transactional conversations. Stewardship is really about taking that relationship building to the next level and including those personal touches. Mentors, we all have a lot to learn, right? So mentoring is so, so important. It's such a wonderful way to build your skill set, both personally and professionally. I love this meme, much to learn. We all still have, it's so true. So I wanted to share a little bit about finding the right mentor and share a little bit about the mentors that I've pictured here in my own circle as well. I focus just on my female mentors. So when you're looking for the right mentor, you can focus on all these different areas, right? We can find a career development mentor, someone that's likely above us, that's managed us in the past, or has an elevated role compared to ours in a different space. You want to learn from that person. Peer mentors, I think, are so, so important. I oftentimes find that I can have a little bit less of a filter when I'm speaking with peer mentors, because we get what each other is going through. We know how we want to help each other negotiate salary, which can be a tough subject to chat through, how to balance different job offers and what the best fit is, right? So talking about both professional development and some lateral mentorship as well. Internal mentoring, and then outside your organization. Again, being able to look up to someone within your industry and likewise outside of your industry to challenge those skill sets and always continue to be learning. And when finding a mentor, looking for a mentor, be persistent, but respect their time and timelines, right? So if I'm in the accounting industry and I really am looking for a mentor in that space, I'm not going to ask during tax season, right? I'm going to wait until that person has a little bit less of a crazy schedule to show that I respect their time frame, their time and energy, but I still want to learn from them. And then if you have any kind of feelings of hesitation or anything, I just encourage you to ask. It is so flattering to be asked to mentor someone or to give advice or guidance. And people love talking about themselves and love sharing their experiences. And so just ask. It's the worst you'll hear is probably not right now. I doubt that you would hear a no, but maybe a not right now because of time or things going on in that person's life. So I'll share very briefly these 4 examples. So the first person on the left is my mentor, Lori. She was my executive director when I first started out in nonprofit at the American Diabetes Association. Lori was the first person to encourage me to advocate for myself. Within my time working indirectly under Lori, I was able to gain my first experience with management, staff management, and committee and volunteer management as well. And when I was looking to move on from my last organization in suicide prevention, Lori referred me and recommended me to my now current boss. And so she is actually at the organization. We got the band back together, really cool experience, but I always stayed in touch with her. I know about her family. I ask about how they're doing. I know her likes and dislikes. She's been a wonderful mentor to me over the years, and it's been really cool to kind of grow with her professionally. The second person pictured is Paula. She's the CMO of the Better Business Bureau, and she was a board member that myself and another colleague recruited during my time at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. She is just an absolute force of a woman. She's probably like in the top 3 most active people in the Boston Businesswomen Facebook group, which serves thousands of women in the Boston area. She's amazing. Third is my probably closest peer mentor. Her name's Samantha. We met at a Women in Sports and Events networking event. We were the only 2 people with a nonprofit background, and we kind of like stuck together since then. She's one of the people I bounced salary and job offer conversations off of. And then lastly is actually my sister-in-law. She was the president of the Women in Sports and Events board when I was the sponsorship director there. And she really drove and motivated me to kind of expand my experience outside of my industry. And I'm so grateful for that because it was super challenging. And after leaving Women in Sports and Events or WISE, I knew it was the right decision for me, but I learned so much in that time that I never would have learned had I played it safe and stayed within industry. So I think I'd love to take like eight-ish minutes to break out into groups. And so we've got about 20 people on the call. So if we can split Cassie into 4 or 5 groups, that would be great. And I'd love everyone just to take a look at these few questions. So in your groups, take a quick moment to share your biggest or your most unique networking success, and then share what was the impact of that success and what role did networking experience play in where you are now. So if we can go into those breakouts and come back in about 7 or 8 minutes, then each group, please just pick one story to share and we'll do round robin before we go to questions. So we can go into breakouts and hopefully I can pop into 1 or 2 of them, but we'll bring it back in just a few minutes as well.
So I just want to let you know that we're a little technical difficulty, but I guess when people join through the Whova app, that they don't necessarily get logged into Zoom, and so I won't be able to put everybody into groups, but I can make a couple of breakout rooms and make the rest will be here with us, and we continue the conversation here.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Awesome. So now's the time to put your camera on if you want, or leave it off, but definitely come off mute and share your stories within your groups.
All right. Is anyone interested in sharing their breakout, the topics that Tara had shared from earlier? Not a problem. We'll just give them a few minutes to discuss and hopefully they return in about 8 minutes.
We ended up. Hi, Cassie. I don't really have a networking experience. I'm trying to like think of a good one to say.
Yeah, the breakout room thing didn't really work. There's a lot of people that weren't able to join for some reason. But yeah, networking. I think so the topics were the best networking experiences. Is that what the idea was?
Yeah, I guess one of the ones I'm trying to think. One that was, I guess, the best for me was when I met one of the alumni from the finance boot camp in New York, and that was like the first time I learned about private wealth management, and that's when I was like, oh, this is something I'm really interested in, and I got to talk to him like one-on-one, kind of ask him about like his day-to-day and like what he deals with. And then I recently just had a good networking experience with this other girl who didn't even go to Holy Cross, but like she works at Bank of America, like one of the places I'm interested in. And I had like a 30-minute like phone conversation with her the other day. And so I sent her my resume and I'm like, hi, like I get on the call, I'm like, hi, this is Maddie, like, hi Farrell, like thanks for taking the time to talk to me. She's like, Maddie, like before we get into it, this is like a weird question, but do you know Delia Butler? And I was like, that's my next door neighbor. She was like, I saw your address on your resume. She was like, I literally am like close friends with your neighbor. And I was like, oh my God.
Funny.
So I guess that's like a good experience because then we have like the commonality, like we live really close to each other because she's in the town over. So I guess I could talk about that one. That was kind of funny.
Yeah. For me, I recently started taking an interest in like real estate. And so I noticed how there was a little section on the WOVA app for real estate. So I reached out to a woman and I've been messaging her back and forth because I want to just know some like first steps to take to get into that industry because it's something I'm interested in.
Those are great stories.
Okay, so we can share those.
And are you also a current student?
Yeah, actually, Maddie and I are like really close friends.
Yeah, I was like one of my really good friends. So when we got put in the breakout room, I was like, oh my gosh.
All right, so how about, the three of us can go back to the main room and then I'll join the other room and see where they're at.
Okay.
All right.
It's okay for me to like realize it's okay to go back to the East Coast. Oh, sorry. But yeah, so that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I feel like too, the culture, not just of the industry, but geographically, like in your case,
Right.
in that space can really, like encourage you to make moves, whether it's within industry or kind of just exploring different parts of your current space. So
Yeah, exactly.
wow, gosh. So where in New York are you hoping to move back to? Like, what's your top?
Yeah, so I'm from Long Island and all my family's there, and so it's kind of been a lot of conversations about that as well, that like, listen, I work for a big firm still, I make good money, I shouldn't have to struggle, and like that's what housing is in Los Angeles, like I could move home and buy a house that's like double the size of what I could get here and be back on a train and not just sitting in traffic, I mean, not a failed experiment, like met my boyfriend who is making the move back, so we will be getting engaged at a certain point. So cool. And he already got a job in New York and stuff, so definitely like working out. But I mean, if you had asked me at Holy Cross if I'd be in Los Angeles, I'd be like, what? No way. Like there's
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that's working out. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I definitely wanted to like come to the session because it's learning where to network, right? So for me at the moment, it is scary. Like if I start this program, it's part-time because I have to definitely like keep working, and so I don't know what happens. Like, I don't know if my current firm transfers me to the New York office in the interim until I get something better for my, what I want. But so I definitely need to like get myself back more comfortable in networking. And like, I've done it before, but it's a pivot,
Yeah, I hear you. Oh man. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm so glad too that your boyfriend found a job because I feel like that's just an added complexity to that too. What's his industry or what does he do?
So he is actually getting his master's in accounting right now. So he's been at Bank of America for like a decade and they just, they don't really appreciate enough of what you do. So he's did the grad degree and I mean, he has been doing really well. So he had like the equivalent of on-campus interviewing, but through Zoom. And he had like 3 offers at like the Big 4 in New York. So he will be
cool.
there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so nice. Wow. Yeah. When I was at Holy Cross, I did the SIP program and I interned on Long Island in Manhasset.
Oh, okay. I grew up in Bolingbrook, so like a little closer to the city, like south though. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I loved my time there. Long Island is so special, but that's where I started a nonprofit actually. I interned for Tuesday's Children. They are the program I referenced working with peace building and conflict resolution.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Young adults. So we bring in people from all over the world each year except for this year, for like a 7 or 8 day peace building. It's like young adult summer camp, but it's because they've all lost someone to an act of terrorism.
Wow. Okay.
They all come together, share their experiences and that sort of thing. But anyways, the point is I just have such like a soft spot for Long Island too. That's so awesome that you'll have the opportunity to head back that way.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
it's getting comfortable with transition again, you know.
Yeah, right. Another one. This is just a year full of transition.
Yes.
So, like, you know, we can pretend to have our feet planted as much as we like, but it's just one move to the next and rolling with it as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Well, cool. Well, I'm glad we got to chat. I think we can actually head back to the group space if you want.
Okay.
Before
we just click close all the rooms.
If you click leave room, it should send
Okay.
back to the bigger.
The main one. Okay, great.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. I think we probably are getting everyone back now. Awesome. I see a few other faces on camera. Thank you. Cool. So why don't we take just a quick moment, maybe 2 or 3 people, if you want to just share what you chatted about in your groups. I know I was just partnered up with one other person, so not to put you on the spot, but Heather, if you're comfortable starting it off, that would be awesome.
Sure. So I'll just kind of talk briefly. So I am class of 2008 of Holy Cross, and then I'm from New York originally. I went to Brooklyn Law School, and I've practiced in New York, but then came out to Los Angeles for an opportunity, and have just decided after a few years here that it's really not for me. You know, I kind of twofold. I want to go back to New York, but also I want to change industries. And so I had reached out to a Holy Cross classmate who was 1 year below me and who I went to a Holy Cross New York networking events with. So definitely helped to kind of like keep those relationships. And she has her master's in fashion law. And so we've been discussing for me to take basically what are my interests and move them into the space of my actual career. So I think that part's helpful, and just kind of, you know, and then she's connected me with other people to talk to for different ideas. And so it's just kind of trying to keep those connections and being comfortable with reaching out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like that example embodied everything we talked about today in like a real life situation. So thanks so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Great. Is there maybe one more person that wants to share theirs?
I'll share.
Awesome. Thanks, Maddie.
So I actually had a call earlier this week with a girl who I didn't go to Holy Cross. I got connected with her through another mutual friend like in my neighborhood. And so I get on the call. I'm like, hi, so nice to talk to you. Like, thanks for taking the time out of your day. And then like before we get into it, she was like, Maddie, this is like a super weird question, but I saw your address on the top of your resume. Do you know so-and-so? And I was like, that's my next door neighbor. Like, oh my goodness. And then we just had like this crazy, like, she was like, oh my gosh, like, it's just like the commonality was kind of funny. She was like, I was like good friends with her. Like, we spent every summer together. Like, I live the town over from you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Like, how I've never met you. Like, if you were always visiting like my neighbor, like I live right next door. So it was just kind of funny, like kind of ease things up before like we got into like, you know, like I had a lot of questions about her like field because I'm interested in it. But it was kind of nice to like have that like connection established already and like kind of eased into the conversation. I just thought it was kind of funny.
I love that. Thanks, Maddie. I think finding the common ground for that warm introduction is so, so well done. I mean, when you find those mutual interests or how do you know this person, again, it lowers the barriers of connecting. And that's such a great example of that. Thanks for sharing. Awesome. Well, I did want to leave you just with this last quote before some open Q&A, but I love this because the quote here says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I just think that, you know, the principles of our Jesuit education, being women for and with others, that sense of connectivity and that sense of solidarity and togetherness is really going to take us all so much farther, especially with experiences like today. So thank you so much again for the opportunity to chat with you, and thank you for participating. If you want to stay on a few minutes, I'm happy to take some questions, or please feel free to contact me either on the Whova app or with my contact information there. But thank you again so much for being here today, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yes, thank you, Tara. I think there were a few questions on the Whova app, and but I think people are starting to answer those as well. And I don't know if you want to just answer those there as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 o'clock, so we want to be mindful of everyone's time and invite everyone here to join us for our 2:30 closing executive panel.
Perfect. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.